Hey everyone, so this week's chapter of One Piece had a particular line that potentially held massive implications for some of the larger mysteries of the story. However, unfortunately, this line's meaning wasn't exactly conveyed in most translations, so there's a very big chance that you missed this massively important detail. Now, I usually don't like to comment on other translations since these are just my own observations, but after talking with Japanese fans, checking other Japanese content creators, and seeing a reliable translator make a comment on it, I feel this is a big enough detail where it's warranted to explain it to you. So, let's get on to it. However, to preface all this, I just want to make clear, like I've said so many times, that the official English translation is by far the most reliable in that language, and it is still my highest recommendation. It does make some language and translation choices I don't always agree with, and on occasion it does make mistakes too, as does any translation, because the process is way more complicated than most people assume, and a margin of error will always be there. But the rate of accuracy is so incredibly high that stuff like this is a rarity. So again, please help support One Piece officially. But from what I've heard, some of the official translations did translate this in fact more accurately, such as the official Portuguese and Indonesian translations on Manga Plus, but when it comes to the official English Viz translation, this detail was sadly missing. But nonetheless, let's break down exactly what happened here and why this line is so important. So in the Japanese version, when Luffy and Kaido talk, Kaido begins to laugh, going "Warororororororo," and then says "Tanoshisou da na. Kyuchi hodo warau. Warau hodo ni ka?" Now, at face value, this line would translate as "Having fun, are we? The harder the situation, the more you smile." And that's exactly what you'll see it translated as in most translations. But see, there's a very specific nuance to Japanese that easily gets lost in translation here. Because in Japanese, the word warau does mean smile, but it also means laugh. Warau refers to both smiling and laughing, and from a lexical point, the word represents both actions. Particularly refers to a smile as if someone were about to laugh, grinning as if they were desiring to break into laughter. So in Japanese, this word represents both of these actions, which becomes hard to translate into English since we don't really have a word that can convey both at the same time. But that's the thing, is that Kaido isn't just saying that Luffy is smiling here, but that he is, in a sense, laughing. And you know just how important the action of laughing is to this series. Furthermore, the way the sentence is structured is incredibly odd, and that is because Kaido's line in part appears to be incomplete. Specifically, in the first two bubbles, Kaido says, "Having fun, are we? The harder the situation, the more you laugh." However, it's the third bubble that sounds a bit off, because essentially Kaido says, "And the more you laugh, then... and sort of leaves it unfinished. And then after Luffy sneers back at him, Kaido also similarly smiles and ends it with ka, or right. But this is more like him talking to himself as saying like, right, so you do get what I'm talking about. He's just sort of validating that sentence without the need to word it out. So essentially, this is implying that Kaido did not spell out the whole sentence because he simply says, "The more you laugh, then ... indicating that the more one laughs, something does happen. But then, what is this exactly? Well, see, this is actually far from the only time where this term has caused such confusion, and that might give us a hint as to what exactly Kaido is referring to. Because there's a similarly iconic scene that serves as one of the biggest pieces of foreshadowing in this series that went under the radar for most readers specifically because of this translation quirk. So, remember in Lockdown when Smoker said that Luffy smiling on the execution stand reminded him of Roger? How both in their final moments smiled at the execution stand, something no other pirate would do before their death? Well, guess what? Smoker did not say that they both smiled. He specifically said warau, which refers to not just smiling, but also laughing. And in fact, if we take a look at that scene in the anime, which was fully adapted, we see that Roger did not just smile. He laughed, and he says his final words with a smile on his face. All of this is connected. Everything in One Piece is connected, but this is particularly important to a larger whole. After all, Roger did laugh with the treasure, so this whole concept of laughter is tied in large part to the One Piece. And in this regard, this scene, all the way back then, was foreshadowing that Roger did laugh in front of the treasure, hundreds and hundreds of chapters in advance. It's a concept that ties to the larger concept of those who are able to laugh even in the face of struggle. This is a particular characteristic that we see in those who have a D in their name. Because, what is it that happens every time during the death of a member of the D clan? Well, we don't have that many examples, but those ones we have seen all match. They all smile before their death. Or rather, you guessed it, warao. They all laughed as they died. Roger, Rouge, Ace, and Sol, the later of which literally was laughing as he was dying, they all died with a smile on their face. And it's not just those who have the D, but even those who have helped shape the world towards the dawn have also shown to have a smile in their final moment. Pedro, Yasuye, Oden, they all had a smile as they died. But why did all these people smile or laugh when they died? What reason did they have for that? Well, I'm sorry, but we are going a bit too far into this, and it does tie into my larger theory of the One Piece, which I swear is coming. I'll have more info very soon. Just wait a little longer, please. Thank you. I love you. But because this does go into potential major spoiler territory, I won't go over it here, but I will leave you with this lingering question as to why do all these people laugh in their final moments? Is it something as simple as just being happy, or is there something to it? Well, either way, what I want to talk about is specifically the relevance that it has to this scene, because I think that what Kaido is talking about is something that fits incredibly well with his character. I think in a sense what Kaido is saying here, not necessarily word by word, but it's something along the lines of, the more you struggle, the more you laugh, and the more you laugh, the more it completes your life. Something Kaido has been seen talking about is how death is what completes the life of a man. He sees death as a grand finale, something that completes the great life story of a person, and it's exactly what he seeks himself. I think that's why Kaido doesn't just drown himself or eats a second fruit to die, because he doesn't want to just die a lame death. He wants a grand and epic death, just like the one Whitebeard had, which is specifically why in his introduction he said, "Whitebeard did it right." And I think in that regard, Kaido also wishes to be laughing in his final moments and to have had a life as accomplishing as those who passed away while smiling. After all, something interesting about this whole sentence is that there is no subject, so it's not clear who Kaido is referring to. He's obviously in part referring to Luffy, but he also could be referring to himself at the same time. He likes that idea of not being afraid of death and being happy for how your life has been completed, that you're able to move on. There's a deeper layer to this, like I hinted at before, and a larger meaning that does go into major spoilers I don't want to go into here, but I'll elaborate it soon enough in my upcoming project, so for now, I'll just leave you with this meaning within this particular scene. But phew, that was a lot, but let's cover the other linguistic references within this chapter. So right at the start of the chapter, Killer makes a comment about Big Mom, saying that she's a Genki na Baba. Baba means all hag, while Genki is an expression used in Japan to indicate that someone is in great health, in good spirits. It's usually something you would say to someone when meeting them after a while to note that they are in great spirits and doing well, or to an elderly person to note that they seem to be doing well and they're in good health. However, in this case, Killer obviously means it ironically, as he's saying that Big Mom sure is lively and in good health for someone of her old age. Big Mom then seemingly decides to ditch Zeus to create a new homie, this one being made of pure lightning. She calls this homie Hera, which is an incredibly fitting name because in Greek mythology, Hera was the wife of Zeus. As I've mentioned in the past, according to the Greek myth, Prometheus stole the power of fire, hence why Prometheus is a fire homie, from the god of lightning Zeus, unleashing his wrath. So even in the myth, Zeus and Prometheus were already at odds with each other, just like we saw last chapter. Hera being someone who opposes Zeus in this case is also fitting because despite being his wife, the goddess Hera was deeply jealous of Zeus's debauchery with other women. and you can even outright say that she despises him because of it, so it's an incredibly fitting choice for Big Mom to name the homie that replaces Zeus as the prideful and spiteful Hera. Hera is even depicted as a female homie with thick lips and even has the iconic laugh often used in anime associated with ladies of high class and high arrogance. Hera delivers a devastating attack called Fulgora. Fulgora is likely a reference to a Roman deity of the same name who was considered the personification of lightning, as fulgur literally means lightning flash in Latin. The kanji for this attack simply reads as seismic thunder, as this thunder causes a small earthquake on the island due to its massive impact. Kid and Killer attempt to go after Big Mom, but they are stopped by Hawkins, who attempts to hit them with the Warabi de To, an attack seemingly named after the sword. This is a pun, as Warabi de To is a type of old Japanese sword. However, in this case, the Wara part of the name is replaced with the kanji for Wara, or straw, which is also pronounced the same way, like Mugiwara, as a reference to his style fruit. Hawkins then transforms into his Goma no So form that he first used in Sabaody. Goma no So translates to taking the form of a devil. Specifically, Goma refers to the action of taking over a devil in your own body, a form of exorcism or demon possession found in Eastern mythology and that you might have seen in other anime. In this case, Hawkins becomes a massive straw demon, ready to curse his enemies, though someone like Killer doesn't believe in such superstition. Switching scenes, Otama wishes to reach many of the gifters so she can give orders to be rescued, but Nami and Usopp apologize for making her worry, saying that Big Sis and Uncle will protect you. This is because it's common in Japanese for kids to refer to older people with relative names such as Big Bro, Big Sis, or Uncle, etc., which depends usually on their age, with people who are older being referred to as Big Bro, and people who are considerably older, who are more elderly, referred to as uncle or oji-san. However, in this case, Nami refers to Usopp as oji-san despite the fact that Usopp is only 19. So in this case, he should be referred to as Onisan or Big Bro because he's still very young, and Usopp takes issue with the fact that he's basically being treated like an old man. Usopp then uses a new attack called Hisatsu Midoriboshi Hanabibana. Hisatsu Midoriboshi is the usual name he uses for most of his attacks, meaning surefire green star, referring to the projectiles he uses. Instead, the actual attack, Hanabibana, is a very clever pun. Hanabibana translates to firework flowers, but the pun here is that in Japanese, flowers are called hana, written as bana here due to grammatical rules, and fireworks are called hanabi, because fireworks literally just mean flower fire, given the round flower-like shape. So in this case, the attack is written with the same kanji for flower used twice, but the real pun is that hana in Japanese also just means nose, in reference to Usopp's long nose. Usopp then follows this with another attack called Hisatsu Midoriboshi Baku Bokuri. Once again, the first part is just a surefire green star, but Baku Bokuri simply translates to explosive pine cones, likely chosen just for the sake of alliteration. However, the three of them run into Big Mom, but thankfully, Big Mom suddenly calms down when she sees Otama as she recalls some of the memories from the first time she had amnesia. Otama mentions how Hold'em and his men burned Okobore down to the ground, since, just like we saw at the start of Act 3, Otsuru and the citizens of Okobore covered up for the samurai, resulting in the destruction of the town. And this angers Big Mom, which ties into the title of the chapter, Anko Moral Code. Anko is a type of Japanese red bean that is used as the basis for Oshiruko, which is why this title is referencing Big Mom's own somewhat delusional moral code of helping those who feed her. Several parties react to this exchange, with Kid spotting Big Mom, allowing him to finally clash against her again, Zeus spotting her too, allowing perhaps Nami to finally snatch him for herself, the added thunder she mentioned a few chapters ago she needed to beat Ulti, and Ulti witnessing her beloved little Pepe being so heavily wounded in front of her eyes. As her subordinates mentioned, this is quite a bad development because it means Ulti will now stop at nothing to make sure Big Mom pays for it, but she's obviously outclassed here, so she'll only be charging into her death, but we'll have to see how things turn out. But hey, what did you think about that exchange between Luffy and Kaido? Do you agree with what I said, that Kaido was talking about laughing being something that completes people in life, or do you have a different theory? Let me know, and I'll see you next week. Shonen Jump will be on break this upcoming week due to Golden Week in Japan, but I'm planning to get a video out this week, so please keep a lookout for it. Take care, and thanks for watching.